Hello, good morning, good afternoon. What we're going to look at today is something called compound interest. Now, compound interest works out how much your money grows if you leave it in a bank account, if interest is paid on it. So what we're going to look at, £3,000 growing at 10%, and we're going to find out how much the money is going to be worth after a 2-year period. So, finding out, first of all, our first job is to find out 10% of 3,000. To find out 10% of 3,000, all we do is divide by 10 or remove a naught. So 10% is 300. What we've got to do now is we've got to add that 300 onto our 3,000, and that will give us the money at 10% at the end of the first year. So I'm going to do that sum, so I'm going to do 3,000 and I'm going to add 300 to it, and that gives us a total of 3,300. So after my first year, the money's worth £3,300. But I've got to find out after 2 years. So what I've got to do is I've got to repeat the process again, but now using this answer I've got at the end of my first year, my 3,300. So my first job is to find out 10% of the 3,300. Do it exactly the same way by removing a naught or dividing by 10, and that gives me then 10% is 330. Final job then is I've got to add my 330 onto the 3,300. So 3,300, adding the 330 I've got here, the 10%, so I'm adding the 10% on, and that gives me 0,363, so it gives me a final value of £3,360. Okay, so that's what £3,000 would become if you added 10% onto it after the first year, put the money back in the bank and added 10% of that amount at the end of the second year, the compound interest. Let's do one more example, but this time we're going to do it with 5%. So we've got £4,000 here at 5% compound for 2 years. So let's work out our 10% first of all. Our 10% is going to be 400, but remembering how we get 5%, if we know what 10% is, we actually halve the 10%. So 5% is actually going to be 200. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this 200 onto the 4,200. Onto the 4,000, sorry. The 4,200 gives me 4,200. So I'll write that here, £4,200. So at the end of the first year, my £4,000 has now grown to £4,200. So I've now got to grow this £4,200 in my second year by another 5%. So, first of all, we find out 10%. So 10% of this 4,200 gives me 420. And then 5%, we halve the 10%, gives me 210. See, half of 420 is 210. So now I've got to add that to my 4,200. Because that's what it was worth at the end of the first year. So adding those two together, and then that leaves us with £4,410. So my total amount there would be £4,410. So to recap that one, I've grown by 5%, so I find 10% by taking the naught off or dividing by 10. Half the answer to give me the 5%, which is 200. I then add the 200 onto my 4,000. That gives me 4,200, and then I repeat the process in the second year. I take my 10% of 4,200 to give me 420, halve it to get my 5%, which is 210. Add the 210 onto the 4,200 to give me 4,410, and that will be what my £4,000 is if it's grown at 5% compound over 2 years.